Good morning and welcome to today's live show. If you're not watching this live and you're just watching the video back, make sure to tune into the last 15 minutes as we are giving a breakdown of every stock at the end of this video. So tune into the last 15 minutes if you weren't here to catch the live video. But as we're moving forward, I just wanted to give a quick breakdown of what's going on right now. We're seeing that bounce come in. So it's a good thing we were talking about that positivity because that initial reaction could have been down. But guess what? We're heading higher. We're able to shrug off Iran. We're able to shrug off everything, shrug off inflation at this point, and start to head higher. And we did get a new piece of data. I wanted to talk about that. Looking at the SPY retail sales coming in at 0.7 above the consensus, 0.3 above the forecast of 0.4. This just tells you right here the inflation play is still there. Inflation is still going up. Retail sales is still strong, and that means our inflation is still strong out there. So let's see if there is any kind of reaction from TLT to this news. Boom, look at that dropping down like a rock just thrown off a cliff. That thing is starting to drop really, really far down. And that makes total sense because retail sales came in stronger. The inflation is still there. And so we're most likely going to see the 10-year yield just keep ripping at this point. So if we keep getting these data points that just send us higher and higher, this yield can just keep going. Means worse and worse news for the stock market, but stock market doesn't have to react right away, right? We see an upward move in stocks because that inflation play is there. Retail sales, they see that as strong economy, and boom, we get that rocket upward. So this right now, I'm going to be paying attention early on. If we wanted to head higher, I would actually like consolidation before we go through this level, right? Before we go through this level. So it would make sense if this is a big pop, we get some kind of handle down in this area. Then we see something a little bit like this. We grab liquidity right here with some kind of drop early on in the morning. That would be good. Yeah, it's going to have some big swings back and forth. So we got to be able to flip the script. Trade like water is going to be a very, very good theme for this week. As you see these ranges, even today, big range on the monthly. And some earnings coming out. So be careful around those. Q is doing a similar thing. What if it just starts to create a handle throughout the day? That would be very, very interesting at this level. Now, if we start to test this level, we could see a drop. If we start to get outside of that, if we fill this gap real quick, we could see some kind of drop with that. But if this wants to create structure, there is a way to go higher. We can pay attention to the 2-hour kind of curling up into positive territory if that's going to be sustained. Now, Apple actually seeing some downward moves here. Some iPhone sales in China, I believe, was released. And so this could be some kind of ABC pattern down. We'll pay attention to any short divergences in here if we see positivity in the overall market. So this zone here, still proving itself, a little bit selly in this zone. So be careful because this thing could just roll back down. But something that would be good for this week for Apple would be to see a 15-minute divergence. Well, good for Apple and good for a trader to take something that could actually pull back or go down, reverse the trend. Will be a little divergence up here. So we'll be paying attention to that throughout the week, throughout the day. But as we are heading down, you'd want to more maybe pay attention to a 30-minute. So we'll pull up a 30-minute most likely for Apple throughout the day. Tesla seeing some selling come in as well. So we're kind of back to that pattern of everything else goes up except for Apple and Tesla. That's what it seems like. And AMD still struggles. So that's pretty funny. We're pretty much staying exactly the same. So we got to trade like water out there. Now we're starting to consolidate in this area. If we start to break down, remember, look out for some trends and things like that for Tesla. But as of right now, negative territory, negative trend still holding. We want to see if that can curl up and get above this center line. That's what I'd really be... Google back at the top. Yes, and we're going to talk about Google in a moment. So Amazon, this one here, making that move higher. I'm going to look for 30-minute divergences now. I think that because we have bigger swings, momentum is going to be more important. So we could see some kind of swing up and just see that immediately given up throughout the week. As the yields are heading higher, that has the possibility to happen at any time. Remember, Nvda getting towards the center line on a 30-minute, curl up, positive territory, make a new high, maybe even paying attention to our weekly expected moves right up in this area, okay? So if you're part of Patreon, it's a good week to pay attention to those weekly expected moves. I assume we're going to see some stuff make some big moves. Volatility is higher, so we're getting bigger swings, and we might get one big swing up that gives us some divergence that leads us back down. Meta as well, getting this pop higher, right? So we want to see if this wants to start to take out this high, go positive, all that good stuff. And this is where you'd more pay attention to the 2-hour curling up. Do I think that's possible? I would more be paying attention to some kind of small 15-minute divergence or just 15-minute rolling over once we hit this trend. I don't know if this will sustain. I don't know if it will be able to hold up very long. Microsoft heading higher as well. This one really needed to hold up. So 30-minute. Can it curl up and go positive? Well, then that 2 hour is going to go positive. We can pay attention to our weekly range for Microsoft over on Patreon. Google, this one, I really think this 30-minute divergence is going to lead to something. Remember, we're not going to be able to, if you have a stop in here, it could go a little higher, and then we could see if this crosses over and creates some kind of divergence like this. And then you see that divergence get a little entry point. So I'd really be paying attention. We're by the center line, see if that curls back down and then goes actually negative. This can continue for some time, right? We can get really, really tight in this and then see that drop. You know, this could go all the way into Netflix earnings or something like that. So I would pay attention to that for Google. As we are gapping higher, I'm sure someone had stops in at these places. So we'll have to pay attention to that going forward. One thing about volatility, the reason we could see positivity for quite some time, 30-minute going negative at this point, and the 2 hour starting to roll over with divergence up here. Okay, so we were talking about this divergence in the video, and boom, we could see that come down. What does that mean? Well, what if this daily actually does roll down and come in, fill this gap? Okay, fill this gap. That would be a point where it's like, okay, blow off top is probably there if we get down there. But if this wants to, we've held above the 200 a ton of times. So if we do see extreme buying come in, hold up at that 200. Remember, this 50 is getting closer and closer to crossing, so be very careful. But good morning. Morning, Ray, Miles, Lil AR15, KB, DB Trades, Kunik, Dave, Matthew. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You should go into this knowing it's manipulated. All you have to see to know it's like manipulated is look at the MACD. I mean, the MACD behavior on the daily scale. This just doesn't really happen. It doesn't happen for this long. If we just look back, it happens a couple times, but throughout this entire bullish run, notice what happened at the top last time. Okay. It looks similar, right? Kind of similar, very choppy, very still crossing. Okay, boom, we get a pull back. This is where we should have kept crashing most likely. And then we see another surge up. So you have the potential for that to happen up here. And that's what's going on right now. You have the potential for that to happen again right now, where you could see that daily, we're down like this now, all these divergences kind of playing out. If we see another upward move, we could go to 540 and then see that thing drop off. So be open to upside here because we could get some kind of blow off top and then see that given away pretty quickly. Just like last time. Last time we got the blow off top, right? Boom, we go up, a little bit of chop, and then boom, we start to spike down. So I would pay attention to those going forward, but we're just going to pay attention to the signals, right? We're traders, so we got to pay attention to the signals we're seeing. Right now, it looks like Google would be one that could create some kind of 30-minute divergence up in this area. And then we want to pay attention to that weekly expected move. Iran-Israel conflict might push the stock market down. It didn't yet, right? So we shrugged that off. We were just like, nope. Now, but the reaction from Bitcoin was immediately down, like immediately down. So I don't really like the 30-minute here, but the 2 hour you're going to see, and we were talking about Bitcoin getting some kind of retest. Well, that's what's happening right now. We get the retest, see if that rolls over because negative territory, we could start to head down. And the fact that the market hasn't reacted might mean they want to go to the bottom side of their weekly expected move. Okay, so I'd pay attention to that going forward. 2 hours still negative at this point. In order to go positive here, you're going to need to hold up at higher levels. And because the swings are bigger now, you can get this to happen, right? So we could do something like that. We could do something like this and start to head down. That's what I'd really pay attention to. I think we have a good shot at the SPY testing that monthly expected move right here. Hi, Udon. Bitcoin is down and held up 3 hours later. Look at the move patterns. Well, Bitcoin was down. Did it hold up back to where it was? Not necessarily. I mean, it's testing the area that it dropped from is what I would say, right? We saw some selling come in. We broke pattern. Now we're retesting. So yeah, it's almost there actually. But as you retest the 5, right, what happens? Well, when we come down and we get to bottom Bollinger, usually we get some kind of retest of the 5. So now's the time where Bitcoin could reject and then ride that 5-day moving average down like this. So just pay attention. It could be a interesting day. We could see a blow off top. We could see a crash. We could just see chop. Chop's fine because we'll just trade this thing back and forth. See what oil's doing. Oil coming back a little bit. Gold starting to pop up just a little bit higher there, but the inflation play is still here. So If I was looking at oil or something like that, I'd probably be pulling up a 2-hour or something, seeing if this crosses up, has divergence, anything like that. I don't think you have any as of right now, but you can see this is just a flag. Like you can really see this is pretty much, even if you just take out this upward move here, yeah, we could have a double top, but if you just go like this, we're pretty much flagging at this point. So you have a little triangle up here. Could just head higher. So I would pay attention if it starts to take these moving averages back, cross up positive territory. There's your oil play, 30-minute, no divergences or anything like that. So nothing to really give us a hint at this point. Maybe that starts to back off, but I think the 10-year going up 2% while the Qs are heading higher again is something to really, really worry about. So I'll be paying close attention to the Microsofts, the Googles, all this stuff as we see actually a little bit of selling come in right there just for a moment. So we'll have to see how we open. We got 1 minute. Could be a gap and trap, could be a gap and go. We'll have to find out. Do you see any chance of continued rising? Yeah, so that's what I was talking about with oil. It looks like it's consolidating, so you want to see some kind of breakout from oil going forward is what I would say. But the inflation play is still here. You can see it in the data. Retail sales month over month, 0.7, still higher. Remember, the stock market and the economy aren't the same. This is telling you inflation is still here. Inflation play is on still. And the market takes that as, oh, strong economy. Oh, good earnings. They're probably paying attention to earnings and this number saying that. And then the headlines all say, retail sales beats expectations. Doesn't that sound positive from the media out there? So I'd just take this with a grain of salt. This just means inflation is worse. So we're going to see what? Stocks inflate is how I would put it. All right, we're immediately seeing a little bit of a sell-off in the morning here from Google. So that is something to pay attention to. I have a stop at these closing bars. So we'll see if we're able to head towards those. And the option is still positive at this point. So Google option still positive at this point. We have a little bit if we want to scale into a move or something like that. All right, let's go see the reaction from the SPY. Remember, this is where that handle could form. So I'm going to look at a 15-minute. Obviously, this thing will be curling up. Will it be positive? Not as of right now. So if you do get a curl down, negative territory, that negative trend can take over. I'm down 5% on the Googs. Yeah, that's okay. You should be taking something a little bit further out, but you could get this to gap and fill. Maybe then we turn up into positive territory. If the 15-minute goes positive, you can know, okay, maybe there's a move higher. Maybe I should wait, see if there's a higher point up here, and then see that cross back down. You want to make sure those signals are still with you. At this point, though, the 2-hour is still with you, right? The 2-hour is still with you. So if you have a longer out option like myself, you don't really have to be worried about selling this right now. The selling can come in anytime this week, anytime next week. We can build up in this for quite some time, even though we're pretty far up in it at this point. We still can see, something like this, and then this, and then this, and then we fall out. So, or maybe we want to build up all the way until earnings. We'll have to see. But I think Netflix earnings will be an important thing. See, the Qs starting to drop off a little bit here. Let's get off of a 2-hour, go to a 30-minute for a little bit here. See if that's able to cross positive territory. That would be your telling thing right here. If this starts to cross on the 30-minute, especially at the end of the day, I would say. So where's the end of the day? Something around, 2 o'clock, 2:30, an hour or so before close, we start to confirm that move. Just be careful with this because that could mean we have another upward move coming. We might target that top side range. But if we see that swing back down, well, negative territory, so 15-minute curls back down, negative territory. That's what I would pay attention to today, to the bear side. Good thing Bitcoin had a good recovery, or I was anticipating a big sell-off. And I think that's probably what should have happened, but they're going to keep this thing up even longer, and that's perfectly fine. You still holding? Yeah, I'm holding mine. Ray's out here making sure everyone has their coffee. And good morning, Carlos. How you doing? Yeah, so the reaction should be bad, but sometimes war is an okay thing for Mario. Like it's not always horrible, but you can see the yields going nuts. I think the yields aren't really reacting towards war yet. They're more reacting towards they're more reacting to the retail sales right now. If you look at the yields, right, it's still up 1.2% now. So this thing's still just going bonkers to the upside. This is just telling you a bank failure is on the horizon, especially if this keeps going. But this is technically fighting inflation at this point, so just keep that in mind. The inflation is being fought against by the bond market at this point, and then the other side of that is like, well, nobody wants the bonds. Oh, sorry. Yeah, and Bitcoin literally could just hold up and cross up positive territory and see a big move. Like it genuinely could. So I want to pay attention to this daily because we built up a lot of liquidity here. If I just like move this down, it's going to look more flaggy at this point. So because we did hold up at this area, now I want to keep this for now just because of the retest that's going on. But if we start to see an upward move or see it consolidate down at this low, give us some kind of 2-hour, 4-hour, 2-hour divergence down here, then I'll be like, okay, I'm going to redraw this. But as of right now, it looks like a retest. Coin bottling up, big move incoming. So is that going to be up? Is that going to be down? Well, the trend is still up. So the trend's your friend. This could just roll up and go positive. And that's where you'll see maybe another upward move in coin here. But SMCI looking weak. AMD looking weak. Breaking through this level, so you'd expect something like 150. Maybe we look at our weekly expected move, see if it wants to hold up anywhere near there. Yeah, so 153 is where we could head to. So where's 153 at? Boom, right here. So what if we did come test this level and then see some kind of bounce? Well, we want to be paying attention to our 2-hour charts, right? Because we could have that divergence confirmed soon. But AMD not really showing you much positivity. Nvda not really showing much positivity either. Just yet, still green, right? Still positive for Nvidia, in positive territory. You see that roll up. We could see a big move higher. I would be targeting my upward expected move if I see this curl up again. Coffee and robe confirmed. Is everyone out there buying robes? We should get robes and sell robes on this channel. Trade like water robes. So everyone's comfy while they're making money. Tesla, this thing's starting to drop down pretty quick. Remember, negative territory is there. 2-hour, able to confirm some downside here, going negative. So now we expect some weakness from Tesla going forward. We just want to see, is it going to hold up or anything like that at these lows? That's what we would really want to pay attention to. I'm just going to put it at that closing bar. I think that's what makes the most sense. DRM had a gap down this morning. We can check that out too. Salesforce reported, right? No, maybe not. Did Salesforce report earnings? Or am I crazy? No, that's not until May. My goodness, that is a drop off. The investors shrug off geopolitical. That's not good. Now you have the daily going negative, so be very, very careful here. This thing could drop pretty quick. Now, where you'd expect a bounce, probably this 276.81 level. Anywhere in this liquidity makes sense, but if you got like a perfect retest of an area that was important, I'd say 276.58, 276.50 would be pretty solid for CRM to get some kind of bounce, but then you have to be worried about head and shoulders. So as you go negative, right, on these 2 hours and stuff, look how deep you are in negative territory. And so building up from here is going to be very difficult. We can say a similar thing with the SPY on the shorter time frames, right? Even a 15-minute, difficult to get positive at this moment. So you'd have to say the negative trend is still here. If we wanted to head higher, though, you can see it, right? You can see this up in here. We could do something like this, carve that out, and then see that go up by the end of the week. Google actually going negative here, so filling the gap, going negative a little bit. Reebok Google 517 puts there, so that's I mean, that's an okay play. I'd just say you're in the middle of the range. So as of right now, according to my strategies, I don't really have a good percentage. This is kind of 50-50 still. Darren, thank you so much for subscribing, and I appreciate you guys liking the video today. Yeah, you're pretty much in the middle. So according to the weekly expected moves, you have like a 50% chance to do this and 50% chance to do this. So I like to wait till I get to one side, and then find a setup up here. That's what I like to do. So I'd really like to see something like this happen where we get at least closer to that monthly or that weekly expected move, and then we see that drop off. Google here as well. Let's take a look. Ish 164-ish is what I'm looking for pretty much. At 159, you got it. So now you have the gap, you have it filled. Now do you have a trap, gap fill, trap, go? Or do you have a gap and trap and it's just like over? As I pay attention to, 15-minute wasn't able to even cross on the RSI, so not a lot of strength as of the first 15 minutes here. AMD negative trend taking over, but we're seeing that buying up in that area, so we're pretty much at the top here where we can buy. Just gotta look at GLD. Remember the inflation play still here. 30-minute curls up, positive territory. Probably another big move from gold coming. But we don't get a lot of data the rest of the week, which is interesting. So it'll be very, very interesting to see. Does the trend from last week continue? Right? Does the trend from last week continue? Gold going up at the end of the week there, or is gold going to tear down like it did on Friday? And then you could say a similar thing about the stock market, right? Is this trend going to continue, this downward trend for a little bit now? Let's see. Here was the Friday close. We went sideways, down, up, lower high, down. Could we make another lower high and head down again? Well, we took back some key levels here. So if we can remain up in this area, cross up on this 30-minute, we might actually have a chance to go positive. Aapl looking like some good selling coming in right now. Remember this zone. We've talked about this zone. It's very important. Boom, there it is again. Amazon, what are you doing? See, Amazon is one that I would be convinced, like, yeah, there's probably upside here. This weird wonky buying. It could last one more time, double top, or some kind of move higher. What I would be paying attention to going forward. And we do have room. There's a lot of room in these expected moves. If there's a time to get these expected moves down on Patreon in the link in the description, it's now, because you know the weekly expected moves become more and more valuable as volatility goes up, because you're going to see huge swings. You can be patient, wait for a setup at one side of that expected move. That's what I would do. And if you need practice doing that, take the course, guys. The course is a great option. It's the link down in the description. Look some stuff up. And Fang Li, thanks for joining the Patreon. David, thanks for joining the Patreon. You guys are two that joined today or yesterday, it looks like. Clear this thing out for the week. There we go. there a way to add a downside move other than buying more put contracts? Way to add a downside move. I mean, you can sell calls. You can... There's certain stocks you can buy. SQQQ. SQQQ is another one, right? So things like this you can just buy so you're not over leveraged or anything like that. This thing does decay, so you don't want to hold too long, but SPXS and SQQQ are two good ones. Is it TSM or like the Taiwan Semiconductor or... Okay, there it is. What is decay? So things that have like 3 times... You're leaving? Oh, give me 1 second. We'll talk about decay in 1 second. All right, we're back. Girls are leaving. I didn't know they were going this morning, so... All right, decay. So SQQQ and UVXY and SPXS, like examples like that, 3 times levered bearish, right? Bearish ones, and bullish ones. So TQQQ, all those, they actually do decay over time, but it's just the market tends to go up. That's why TQQQ looks pretty. But SQQQ does go down over time. So if I just pull up, even UVXY is the most dramatic one. Right, so this one's like always going down. Look at this, it's always going down, and then they split it every time. So if I just keep pulling, it'll keep going down, right? So really, you're just looking for a moment to hold this for like a week or something like that, and then you see that upward move, right? We see a move from 30.50 all the way up to 37. Okay, I'm out. Like that took a few weeks, a couple weeks to take place. Boom, we see that move. So you want to look for those signals going forward. And then just don't be in it for too long. You don't want to really scale in or anything like that. You just want to be like, okay, I'm going to take this position. I'm going to have a stop here. Okay, I'm stopped out. Look for the signal again. Okay, I'm going to take this position, stop here. You just never want to be holding this for, well, let's see. I mean, let's just look back. I mean, so if you thought this was a huge spike in volatility, well, look at this. It's at $45. You say that's going to spike in volatility. It spikes, but then look at this after just 3 months. If you hold that for 3 months, you're down 32%. So be very, very cautious with these things. You want to play them pretty quickly. That's why they're hard to trade. They're very, you can make money out of them, but they're very hard to trade. Most of the time, because people end up holding them, do not hold them. For, I would say, you know, especially, I don't know, maybe, like I think I've held SQQQ a little longer and SPXS a little longer, like maybe 2 weeks. But other than that, usually like UVXY and things like that, volatility moves up and down so fast that if volatility just starts to head down, you get like 2 days of upward buying. UVXY is going to be completely down. It decays by like 0.36 or 0.35 or something like that. Damn, the 30-year up to 4.7. Yeah, not looking good out there. It's not. The inflation numbers today are here. Retail sales going higher. So the fact that the market's going up, that's perfectly fine. We pay attention. HYG's not going up. Interesting. TLT's not going up. Interesting. So that just tells you the market is still sick, but the market's going to do market things, right? The market's going to just keep going up. If people see something and see it as positive, they buy stocks. That's how it works. It's perfectly fine. But I'm just saying right now, if you just go look at a 15-minute, we're already almost overbought. And guess what? We're still in negative territory. No real divergences or anything like that. But I guess you could say maybe a hidden divergence right here. Upward price action, downward MACD. So there is potential for a bounce. But I really think this negative trend is going to start to keep taking over. But we'll have to see. Maybe people get excited before earnings. SPY 2 504 is what you're looking for. Hey, you know, It can get down to 505 technically and make sense today, but 504 is looking a little bit much. I would say, and this pretty much doing what we were talking about very early on. If you go watch the first, 15 minutes or so, when we were talking about a little breakdown before the market opened. Well, what are we doing here? Well, we have the cup. What if we just get a handle and we start to head higher? So if we start to build a handle and it looks very flaggy, we see that break out, I'm most likely getting out of that Google play for a moment, and then I'll get back in once I see the signal again. As of right now, though, negative territory, this is what I'm talking about. It's kind of difficult. So if this did something like this, though, we'd have 30-minute divergence. Look for that right before Netflix or something like that. If you guys want, okay, I'm going to show you guys something. I think you guys would really like this. If you do not know what to invest in, I've been looking at this a lot lately and kind of suggesting it for a buy when there is some kind of crash. QYLD. So you were talking about covered calls. They're a covered call ETF. So I just noticed that pretty much like it doesn't crash as much as other stocks. Like it does head down over time. Like you see it heading down. But it does pay out a huge dividend. It's like 11% a month. So I've been researching and seeing if I want to like try to buy a bunch of this at 15 and just hold it for like a year, make an easy 10 or 11%, and it will grow over time too. So I could see, a 10, 15% gain, 20% gain over some time throughout this, and then also make 11%. That would be a gain over the whole year of technically something like 20 something percent. I just thought it was a very easy little play though. But I really like QYLD. I've been looking at it for some time. It's survived through a lot of the dramatic crashes as well. So once we do bottom out, if we do see some kind of big crash or something like that, that's something I'll be looking at. It's a cool one. Uh-oh, AMD bought up. Yeah, AMD really buying up. It had to. And we talked about AMD buying up from this area. So now you have the potential, you have triple divergence down here. Well, yeah, you have triple divergence on the RSI, not necessarily on the MACD at the same time, but you do have triple divergence down here. Let's see, do we still have that 2-hour divergence? We do, and you have triple divergence technically you have a divergence here, so multiple point divergence for AMD. Looking like a strong bounce could come. How high could that go? Well, I would go over on Patreon and look at my weekly expected moves, and then I know exactly how high the options market is expecting that to go, right? So I'd pay attention to that. If you're over on Patreon, that would be a good opportunity. Now, it is in the middle still of its range, so you're not necessarily, you don't have a big percentages. Probabilities are still that kind of 50-50 from this area as of right now, just based on the probabilities, not based on momentum or anything. So I would say you got a good shot at a bounce from here. Is that bounce going to last? Well, what if the 2-hour just pops up, rolls back down, negative territory, and then we see another big drop? That's what I'd pay attention to going forward. So why? I haven't researched this too much. Tesla option income strategy. That's interesting. Looks like it's not doing very well, huh? Well, Tesla's not doing very well, so that's the one thing to pay attention to. But I would just look at a daily scale, look for where I have maybe any support. There is none. I don't know what the dividend on this bad boy is. 0.684, and it's every month. We can do some simple math here. Let's do some simple. Okay, so it's about 0.5 per month, so it's a little less. And then the other one was Honey. Oh, the EV market looks terrible. It's just not good for war and things like that too. So I think it's going to be a lot of pressure. Like it was, that was one of the funniest things. Like, whether you love him or hate him, the funniest thing Donald Trump said was like something around the electric tanks or whatever. He's like, oh, at least when we're destroying the planet with tanks and destroying people and murdering human beings, the economy is going to be better. And I just was like cracking up. But this one here, let's see, yield coin option. So these are option strategies for coin and things like that. So these can drop dramatically. QYLD is just covered calls for the stock, like I'm pretty sure the S&P 500, which I really like. So I think that was pretty good. But it's one that, like, even if it loses, I don't know. It's one that, like, if you have a big chunk of money, you want cash flow. I think it's good for cash flow. Maybe that's the way to put it. I think it's good for cash flow because you get dividend payments every month. So if you were just looking for a quick 10% or quick 1% to pay off, I don't know, your mortgage or something like that, maybe you have enough money to put it in, like $100,000. Oh, I made $1,000. That pays for half my mortgage or something like that. I just thought that was kind of interesting to point out. We won't talk about that too much, right? We're trading, but that's something I'll look at if we see an overall crash. Yeah, see, now we're starting to just move sideways. So if we move sideways the rest of the day, I'm going to be a little bit more open to some upward price action tomorrow. Why? Well, because these right here will now shift up. This will be our center point, or even right in here would be the center. Right now, the center's right here. So if the center's here, you're going to see boop, boop, it's going to move up. So I just pay attention to that. As of right now, it's shifting down. So if this would roll down, you would say, oh, well, this should break through here, maybe break this low, and then these would change to something like that. TLT, yeah, you could try something here. I would just be pretty careful with it. Now, if those yields are going to drop off dramatically, that might be a flight to safety for that reason for happening. So be a little careful with that. But call side here looks juicier than the put side, even though it's a negative trend, right? All we have to do to trade this is every time it gets up to the center line, boom, crosses down, puts, comes down, take your money, crosses up, boom, crosses down, take your money, boom, crosses down, take your money. Now this crossed down on the gap, so that one was a little harder to find. But the VIX 30-minute coming down into an area, we could see some kind of bounce here. Let's look at a 15, see if we have anything going on here. No, just a little bit oversold here for the volatility, that is. I bought the dip for a gain today. Think of getting puts. Does this make sense? I mean, it makes sense around this area. I would just be a little bit careful if we keep flagging. If you see this flagging continue for the next, I would say, hour and a half, 2 hours, and we keep flagging like that or something, then I'd be like, okay, you guys, the momentum can be shifting up. So it's pretty much like 15-minute goes positive while we're just like flagging, or we flag and then that causes the 15-minute to go positive by end of day. That's what I would pay attention to. I'm kind of leaning towards that to the bull side. My bull side, I'm leaning towards, hey, cup, handle, head up. So this would be forming some kind of handle if it flags out right there. It would make total sense for us to go up there with the structure. But will this 15-minute just do this? That's what I'm worried about. So my bear side is just simple. 15-minute curls over. Okay, game over. We're going to head lower, maybe cross through this one because this is a very strong move. So you could see this start to do this. Maybe we get a double bottom. Maybe up here we have a range, and then we end the day here. That range is down here, and then I find a trade setup. I'm just waiting for an actual trade to set up at this point because I'm not seeing too much. I mean, AMD has the setup, but do I trust AMD? I mean, do we really trust AMD right now? It hasn't been moving that much. It's just kind of trickling up, trickling down, trickling up, trickling down, going up, going down, going. It's just crazy. So nothing really here to convince me it has to go higher or anything, and the probabilities aren't really with me. And you have a lot of things coming up into areas where they can create cup and handles, head and shoulders. Okay, so pay attention to anything like that by end of day. Let's take a peek over at Google again for a moment. Just see it's able to hold up in this area. I mean, I guess you can say cup and handle. You'd really like that maybe to go a little bit higher, but coming in right where the resistance should. This low right in here coming in. So maybe this is our cup. Here's our handle. We had a higher 30-minute divergence is what I would look out for. Hey, if you start a membership, I'm in. I thought about creating a membership just to do like Friday close videos, so whoever's a member can do Friday close with us. Tell me if you guys think that's a good idea. Just because I see a lot of YouTubers doing that, they do like live videos for members only and things like that. Attempted on swinging Tesla calls, but might not have any catalyst like the Reuters tweet. 165 is usual support. Yeah, I would not try to call this thing at this point. I would not try to go anywhere with this at this point. I would be looking at my downside range, which I know is right below us. It's pretty far down there. So you got some room to the downside. Where would we hold up? Pretty much, you would say somewhere around these lows is where Tesla's expected to go this week. We start to break through that level, it's going to be bad. Right now, you just have that negative trend really taken over again. We'll have to see if we can beat this low, but you do have a weekly expected move down in this area. If you want to join Patreon, that's a big, big downward move. I wouldn't try to call any kind of support or anything like that, but you're filling a gap here. So, yeah, and you're still negative, so none of this is really telling me like, hey, yeah, take a chance on Google. Now, this guy here, look at this. I mean, this is starting to curl up, positive territory, starting to complete the cup. Maybe you get that handle and you start to head higher by end of day for Nvda. Nvda with a beatdown, curls up, positive territory, curls up on this MACD, could start heading off to the races here. Just some stuff. These are strong moves, but they're like slightly struggling. Look at that wick up. My goodness. Yeah, that's why I don't just want to like buy another put here. So someone said that they were buying a put right there. And I'm like, I wouldn't buy a put there. I would wait. I already have my position up here. See that turn down. If that turns back up, I can get out, get right back in right around this area. So that's what I would be doing for Google at this point. It looks pretty positive. And this move here can take you up to like 164. Like, don't think it has to stay in this, right? So we did touch it. We can touch it again. We can touch it again. Then see that drop off. But as of right now, I can just hold my position, sit pretty, and see if that's going to roll back down on a 15-minute or something like that. It's going to struggle still. Look, it's almost overbought, going right past the positive territory. So if you're going to see a strong move, well, you're going to see a big move, most likely, if we break through this level. And then you can see that get kind of overbought, base out, go again, find a little divergence up here, at least near the weekly expected move. That's what I would like to see. There goes Microsoft taking off. Nvda taking off. 30-minute, crossing up. Positive territory. Looking like some good news for Nvda going forward. Same thing could be said with Microsoft starting to go positive at this point. Google, right, crosses up, goes positive just like Nvda just did. You could see another upward move. So Nvda kind of confirming a little bit more upside here, unless that resistance comes in right away. Then you might be having like 15-minute divergence. So positive side, you can pay attention to that 30-minute crossing going strong past this high. The negative side, you just want to watch out if you're in calls for that. Well, if that curls over, you have a divergence very, very steep up here. So it's kind of still the probabilities here not really telling you too much, right? It's like probably 55% chance we go down, 45% chance we go up from here, according to the weekly expected moves. There goes Google, 30-minute. All right, so let's take a look at the SPY. We're paying attention to Google, but that might be one I just scale into. It's hard to say just because that daily expected move is right here. So if we would sit, that would make sense. But as we see some upward moves, if we start to do this, I'd be a little bit worried by end of day. You're just going to see that fade, right? You're going to get this 30-minute to go up like this, get close to the center line, cross down. We keep going down. That would make sense. To the upside, it would make sense to get that cup and handle to go up. So you want some consolidation in this area, I would say. Ah, sorry. Good morning, Willow. I just like clicked back over to my chat and it just flooded for a second. I think Nvda is going to be pretty resistant over the next couple of years. 930 Nvda, very possible this week. 930, very possible. I can't see the chop, bruv. Okay, good, you fixed it. We have a Englishman. Can't see the chop, bruv. You sound like my soccer teammates. They used to call me bruv. That Iran attack was a joke. Well, not necessarily. I mean, you're on the brink of something bad happening there. Like really bad. I mean, technically that's really bad. I mean, we can go look. I don't want you to underplay it. Let's see. Latest, the world leaders urge Israel not to retaliate. That's the scariest part, is like, if we allow Hamas to keep doing what they're doing, like, kind of like disrupts war because they're just using citizens to stop anyone from attacking them while they can attack as much as they want. But I don't even know if that drone attack did anything. Iran, let's look. I'm trying to see like just like disrupts war, because usually people leave citizens out of it a little bit, like until you see a really dramatic war like this one that could happen. Shoot down Iranian drone. Israeli ballistic missiles. Yeah, so like that attack is kind of lackluster actually. Drone attack was just to show Iranian people a show of force. Okay, it was not meant to really do shit. Okay, that's what I was reading pretty much there. What is happening to Palestine is what happened to Native Americans. Tesla Senior Vice President Drew Baglino signs. Yeah, we saw that about Tesla. Stop stealing their land and problem solved. Well, you know, it's just people have been stealing land throughout all of history. So, I mean, even the Native Americans stole land from each other. So if you want to say that, it's like, which Native Americans are you going with? So like you could say, oh, this tribe owns this land, but then you find out, oh, well, 100 years before that they took over this tribe's land. So it's a difficult thing. But you would just say this: the way they are doing war right now is not good, right? They're putting women and children in front of them to take the bullets while they send missiles from behind them. You can't agree with that. You just can't. And that's just a total sub topic. That's not anything to do with the war. Just talk about that in general. Just that. Not saying I'm one side or the other. Don't care. Whatever. Just look at that. That's not good. But we care about stocks on this channel. We're only paying attention to that type of stuff because it affects stocks. Yeah, and I don't see the correlation whatsoever between Native Americans. I mean, when you give a country pipes to make water for their people and they turn them into missiles, guys, it's probably not good. Not saying, I mean, once again, I don't know enough about it to really comment on it. I'm not some war expert. I'm not some expert on geopolitics. I'm just a stocks guy. I appreciate you, Smirnoff, though. I appreciate you being here, buddy. I just don't know enough to comment. I just have my opinion on select things that are pieces of it. You know what I mean? 30-year going up to makes no sense. It makes sense. You guys, these yields going up today make total sense. What doesn't make sense is the stock market going up. Now, the stock market going up actually does make sense because because like the stocks do what stocks do. People see a good retail number, they think, oh, positive stuff. Stocks are going to go up because retailers see a good number. I mean, TLT, this is still like, I mean, if you really think about it, it's an okay price. You'd say it's an okay price, especially if you're looking at weekly expected moves and stuff like that. Big red on QQQ. Yeah, I saw that on Google for a minute. Oof. Okay, so that's looking. So now, like 30-minute wise, usually I do like the 30-minute. It still could be a handle in here. So what I would do is maybe even go 5-minute here. I'd maybe even go 5-minute and just see if there's any kind of structure that I can form while this starts to pull back down, right? Look at that. It starts to look a little bit flaggy in here to me, right? Little bit flaggy. Ah, Dennis, maybe that's what's happening. Do you want to see that? Okay, that's gonna, but like, look, see, it's hard because even the 15-minute can go negative here. That's why I'm like, any upward move, it kind of has to base out, and we have to get something like this going. So if we can scoop up liquidity here, but if you take out this low, negative trend continuing big time. I bought TLT at 82.50. I would say anywhere in these areas could be an okay place to kind of scale in. Now, you guys know me. I just bought down in this area. I'm like, they're probably going to cut these rates eventually. We'll go into recession, or we'll have a flight to safety for some reason. And yeah, right now, bottom Bollinger. I mean, it doesn't look good, right? You're below the 200. You're seeing that can just keep going. So be very careful. You might just want to be patient with it. See if we get all the way down to 82.50. That'd be crazy. But long-term investing, if you ask about long-term investing in one day, you're going to be told, hey, you're going to have to be patient. Long-term investing is a lot about patience. I'd be looking at, where is the actual stock market now? Well, if I'm a long-term investor, hey, maybe I want to buy at this area at the 50 and play that for a little bit. But if I'm holding this long term, I'm probably looking for a good correction. I'm looking for entry points like this. This is more long term, right? This is where we should have entered. This is where we told the bottom was here. We used Aapl to find that. Boom, we start to head up. You want to look for where you should scale in on the investor side. Well, look down here where we have, a little divergence right between these two lows. You have 2-hour divergence down here. I remember it to this day. 2-hour divergence down here. Okay, I place a buy. I'm going to hold this for a while because that daily turned up. Once you see these bigger drops, that's when you talk about investing. Investing at these levels, well, it's kind of like investing right here. What happened over there? Or it's kind of like investing right here. It looks kind of similar, right? It looks a little bit similar. Now we dropped below the 50 here. We curled back up. We could drop below the 50 here, curl back up. That's what I would pay attention to. But you would say, would you rather have invested here, gone through this, then seen that pop and been like, oh, sweet, now we're going in a bull run, and then you have to go through all this nonsense? I would just wait for my corrections. I would wait for bigger pullbacks to actually invest long term. What just happened to Meta? It's really starting to, like I said, these 15 minutes are going to struggle to get into positive territory. So that was my argument pretty much this whole time, is we're just so deep in negative territory now that if we're going to see upward moves, we're going to have to see some buying come in, like some serious buying. Even Amazon, look at that thing. Tesla confirming downside. Apple saying it wants to go down. Qs, right? We're just about to go positive, but guess what? We get to the center line. Now you're breaking structure. So it's not looking pretty. Google, this thing, just about to go positive, right? This one looks a little bit more likely to go positive, right? But across the board, though, you're seeing a lot of stuff that was pretty far away. So if this just gets ripped down, it would make sense. But as of right now, still pay attention to any kind of buying that comes in, as we do create some kind of handle or something like that could be possible. Weird, the dollar's still going, though. And if the market's green, the dollar's green, The insiders are selling. That's pretty much how we take it at this point. Dollar just ripping and ripping and ripping. Remember, I told you, past 105.65, that was my target for any kind of like bounce in the market. Now we're getting that bounce while the dollar heads up. So people are selling into this move. Made 300 of my SPY puts. Stays where? So I'm out. Good job. I got a 90-day ban on my stock account for day trading. Can I just open with another broker? I mean, you can. I don't know if they'll allow you to get your money out if it's like frozen or something. I would talk about that, but maybe transfer that over if you can. But any good defensive stocks to buy for recession? I mean, a lot of the time it's like you want to pay attention to TLT. Usually in recession, we actually see this start to go this way. The flight to safety's there. The yields have to be brought down. So that's why I have TLT down at 82.50. It's just because I think that eventually they're going to cut in the next year or so pretty dramatically, and I think we'll see a big move up. And I think you were asking about TLT a little bit ago. You can't enter new trades when PDT suspends, but you can close. Yeah, you can't, and you can't buy, but you can always sell with those, if I'm remembering that correctly. Wonder how the Japanese are going to adjust as the dollar keeps rising. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what any of us are going to do. Look at this. This is horrible. Like, if you're saying the stock market should be going down with this. This is just ridiculous at that point. Volatility is starting to creep back up on the daily scale here, so that's true. But cash account, sometimes it takes what is it, like a 3-day grace period, 3 business day period to get the funds back in your account. So something like that. Isn't day trading legal? Why a ban? It's because if you don't have a certain amount of money, then some trading platforms will not allow you to trade anymore because you're trading too often. Before recession, you're actually going to see these drop, most likely. So actually, as we get more and more inverted, according to how stocks behave, we're more inverted now again from the 10-year to the 2-year. So technically, stocks can head up with this kind of things as it's continuing to be inverted. It's when these numbers switch, right? It's when the 10 years above the 2-year that things start to get a little worse. Which it looks like, yeah, and the 20 is still, the 20 is more than the 10. That's not good. But pretty much it's like, okay, so if I want to hold a bond for 10 years, I'm going to get a 4.6 return. Why wouldn't I hold a 2-year and get a 4.9 return? That's pretty much how I see it. And Willow's at the cap on that's 25,000 for that account problem. But HYG, something we pay attention to, still dropping off. And we haven't caught up to this yet, right? So we're not even close to catching up to this technically. Technically, if we're where HYG was matching us, it would be like up here with a slight pullback. That's not happening, so it's very worrisome going forward. Housing kind of getting a flag here. All right, so let's just leave it on the SPY just for a little bit here. Let's look at a 15 minutes, see if that's able to roll down negative territory. That will be much more telling of what's to come. This could technically be handle anywhere in this area. Look where we're holding up. Exactly where we would make a left shoulder. Pull that across. Wink. Whoa. Left head. Right shoulder. Let's see if we do something with that. What about Aapl? Aapl, I mean, I would just say 15-minute curl up. I'd maybe look at 30-minute. I think the 30-minute has a good shot to curl up and give you divergence, so I can pay attention to a 15. I can look at a 5, see if I have any kind of divergence. Not really at this point, kind of flagging. So it looks like the downside's more plausible. But you do have a 2-hour that's well into positive territory. Now you're in a zone where you sell off a lot. You have another lower high between this one on the 2-hour. Now you want to see, can you take out that low, continue the negative trend? So it's kind of, there's just not a lot of trade setups that I would put my stamp on at this point, right? I'm just holding my Google Play. It's starting to flag. Maybe that heads up and I can scale in again. I don't know the exact probability it would go down tomorrow. I see a descending wedge on the VIX. It may spike a bit later, sell off. You know what time frame you're looking at for the VIX? I mean, if you can, the thing is with like wedges, it feels like on the volatility, you can always be drawing wedges. So just be careful with that. I would just say 15-minute goes positive. I might be convinced that it's going to go higher. 30-minute by the center line here, volatility can get another spike higher. Now, the interesting thing would be, does that get above 20? Right? Does that get towards 20? And then we see that fall off with a 30-minute divergence and we get some kind of divergence on the SPY at the same time. That's a good signal that you're going to get a bounce. But if that's before Netflix earnings, I'm going to be a little bit eh. Oh yeah, we can look at J&J. Oh, I'm going to get a stretch in here, guys. Wait, let me see if I can do this. All right, J&J. Yeah, we made the little support line here. 147.24 is what I was paying attention to. Now, when we talked about it last week, 2 hour here, see if that can curl up because of the 30-minute divergences. Now that can happen. So earnings, though, be very careful. It doesn't matter what the technicals look like. Earnings tomorrow morning, it looks like. So be very careful around this. But if you were taking a play with this, we would just say, okay, 30-minute, I got in. And now, so say 30-minute, okay, right, even at this low here as it touches 147. Let's say I bought there. Okay, 147.24 is going to be where I put my stop. I don't have probabilities for J&J. Actually, here, I'll give you the probabilities for J&J for tomorrow. Perfect probabilities. You want to hear it? 50% up, 50% down, and you think I'm trolling you, but it's because earnings is there. If earnings is there, you literally have a 50-50 shot. Unless you want to tell us exactly the numbers that are going to come out tomorrow. If you know that, or you did a bunch of research and you can kind of estimate that out, well, then still you'd have to say, if you don't know the exact numbers, it's still 50-50. So no matter how much research you do, it depends. But you could say, hey, this is a buy point. You could say 147 is a good support. It's been beat down for a long time. I see the argument here. I would just say for a short-term trade, little worrisome, because this easily could do this, and then earnings just fart out. So I just would be cautious with it and put a stop in at 147.24. Ooh, 15-minute about to curl over. Netflix, I mean, you would have to say based on the momentum that it looks like it wants to go down to further levels. That's what I would say. The 2 hour even, like this thing right at the center line. So you would say, hey, maybe this needs to consolidate. This looks like that retail versus the insiders selling and buying. So we'd have to say, okay, what can we take from the 2 hour here before earnings? Well, if we remain in this area, where's the MACD? Well, it's right in the middle. So 50% up, 50% down. That's the probabilities for Thursday, especially if we are right in the center for this MACD. Sammy, thanks for subscribing. Oh, Willow, don't make me do it, man. Don't make me do it. Oh, coming down even further. So if we start to break down there, we have our little zone down here, about 1650 to, actually, let's get the actual numbers. We marked that off out. Yeah, 1950 to probably 1650. Flip a coin. Hey, get your, what is it? The goldfish trader. Get your goldfish, put 2 stocks up, see which one he swims to. Or call and put up, see which way that goldfish swims. And that's what you take. Oh, that's fucked. Do not do that. Or if you're having fun, you made money this week already, go ahead. But this is all I really have to pay attention to, though. Is this 15-minute going to roll over? If that 15-minute rolls over, it's not looking pretty. That's really trading like water. Just putting it all on the fishies. In Firefly, that is very reasonable and sit on your hands. We could see another upward move, but if you're chilling, that's perfectly fine. We're chilling. Perfectly fine to be chilling. Remember that as you get towards this week, this daily expected move, probabilities start to go down this way. As you start to approach this one, starts to go up this way. But really, you want to get outside of that to get that 68% chance. You want that outside move. That's why I was going to be a little excited if this thing kept going and to fill this gap, because then it would be overbought, slightly positive, but overbought, and then boom, we could see that cross back down with some profit taking, and then maybe some algorithms get involved. But yeah, it's not a bad assessment to say, hey, I'm just going to stay out of this. The dollar keeps going up. You're pretty much being an insider. That's what the insiders are doing. They're selling their stocks and holding cash, probably buying gold. That's what it seems like to me. The Googs. Ah. So 5 minute, nothing really to take from this. But you can really see how if we grab liquidity here and head up, you have that cup and handle going on. What do you think is upper? Gotta wait 2 seconds for that to go up, Dave. Gold already passed, by the way. If I just look at GLD, gold already technically passed where I thought it would start to taper off, that 205 area. Didn't happen. It's just continuing to go. You would say a pullback is likely here in gold. That's what I would say. You're looking like a pullback is likely to maybe test the 20 or even test 205.65. Pretty important level to break through. But I would just pay attention over the next few days. Maybe even trade like on a 4-hour. I don't do this very often, but a 4-hour curls down. Maybe you want to go even closer. Maybe you go 2-hour or something like that. Curls down, gets close to the center line. Curls back up, positive territory. Because as of right now, you do have 2-hour divergence across here, but take it with a grain of salt because this is very, very strong. If you see this coming, that'd be perfectly fine. These divergences here lead to a pullback, and then you just see that cross up in positive territory. I expect us to get close to this center line and then curl back up. As far as gold goes. So I think gold sees a pullback. Nvda today, I mean, it looks like it wants to make another move higher. Don't necessarily have a prediction which way this could go, but right now it's really looking like it wants to go to the upward side of the weekly expected move. So I'd say like 920 to 940, somewhere in there, up in this like area right here, looks pretty good. As long as we can remain in this area and curl up on this MACD, that's what I would pay attention to. But if this starts to roll the other way dramatically and take out this low, well, if you take out this low, you're unconfirming and you're heading negative, so you're probably going to make a new low, and then you want to pay attention. 841, 46, very, very important. Lucid, is that Lucid? Lucid, I used to love Lucid, man. I used to watch this stock like crazy. I watched all their videos. It looks super weak. I haven't looked at this in a long, long time. See, this is where it's sketchy because, like, before earnings, right, coming in May, you have divergence down here. You could see some kind of pop. Does that pop lead to anything? Well, it might pop like this before earnings, and then we see that drop off. I would say you do have daily divergence down here. You have a triple daily divergence, technically. So you see that on the MACD and RSI. Pretty good. So it's a good sign that you could see some buying up. But are the shorter time frames giving you that? Little bit. You do have a divergence right here on the 2-hour, and then you want to see 30-minute. Is the 30-minute saying this is a time you can bounce? Not necessarily. It's actually curling over and going negative, so that could pull down. For some kind of entry point, I'd like a 30-minute divergence behind all these. My friend's mom is an executive at... Dang it, that heart's in the way, Phantom. I'm sorry. Give me 2 seconds, and then that'll... At Lucid? Oh, dude. I watched all their videos. I watched all the test drives. Like, I really liked Lucid. But it's just hard. Because car companies are the hardest, like, one of the hardest things to make happen. I think it's, like, second to restaurants. I think it's the most likely industry to fail. Just because, like, car companies don't make money off of new car sales, usually. Most car companies make money off of, like, servicing or parts that they have to buy after the sale or something like that, add-ons, things like that. Most of the time, they have a new car sales. That's why they always want to buy your used car. They can make money off used cars, but they the new cars are harder to make a margin on. Feel they just need a product that sells, maybe software. The thing is, like, Lucid's going for everyone that's doing EV for the most part is leaning towards luxury. Who the fuck can afford a luxury car right now? Pretty much no one, unless they're putting it all on credit, right? So I just think that you need something that separates yourself from the market. First off, you need better marketing to sell them. And then at the same time, maybe you are the one that makes a 22,000 EV, if that's even possible. But guess what? That $22,000 EV, you're not going to make money off it because it's too cheap. The volatility on if you're looking on the hourly time frame here, just see if that can curl up for another push. You're still above the 200. So this could just be that reaction down. We're retesting a key area we broke out from. So that's perfectly fine. And then daily side, all I want to pay attention to here is the fact that the VIX was up by more than 10% means we could get a green day in the market, and that could all be ripped away the next day. So we'll have to pay attention. Could that green day today lead to more positivity in the market and lead to the volatility coming down? We'll see. If it doesn't break down below the 200, though, I'm saying volatility is still here, and we're most likely going to see that price action that's very swinging up and down. You day trade, or do you have long-term stocks too? I have long-term plays. Right now, my long-term play, I still have TLT at 82.50. That's pretty much my only long-term play. And then usually I'm a trader that likes to take a position about 2 to 6 weeks out, 2 weeks to about 2 months out, and then I let that play out. So as of right now, my main trade is going to be Google, seeing if that can make another upward move, because this is one I'm scaling into. And it looks, see, this is Google. So if you're in this, right, to the put side, you have to say, hey, it's gaining structure here. Maybe it wants to make another upward move. Maybe I just want to be patient, see if this low is taken out, see if this is broken. But that's why I like to do positions more than take a day trade, because I can take a position right here. This is pretty much where I bought my position. Okay, that curls up and then gives me that divergence again. All right, I take that position here. The reason I took a position on Google was because of the 2-hour divergence confirming again right here. So I just saw this move up and I said, okay, this is going to see some resistance. Let me take a try here, keep a stop at the high. Now my stop's at this point right here. Actually, it might be a little bit higher than that, but yeah, a little bit higher than that. We haven't reached my stop yet, but pretty much I have a position up in this area. Now, if I see this happen, I can scale into it a little bit more. So I do have cash on the side. All right, gold went down to $40 and silver did not go down as well. Do you have any idea? Not necessarily. I would really think silver follows gold, but silver's popping off, man. Silver seems undervalued. The only way to make EV is like the 2025 Ram pickup battery with a gas motor. See, that's the thing, though. And I think if you're wanting to go 100% electric, it's just nobody can afford that. Our country, like our infrastructure, can't even afford that if everyone went electric. So I'm not convinced. I think oil's going to be, or gas is going to be the only way to go, and I think you'll have to get like hybrids and things like that are probably the best case for a lot of car companies. I think if Tesla right now worked really, really hard on getting some kind of hybrid that was worth like $25,000 and you could put the Tesla name on it, I think that would sell like hotcakes. But they don't think that way. They're thinking 100% electric. Short going into earnings on the 23rd. For Tesla, you just have to say this is a big downward move. Now you're probably going to flag out and head even lower. We'll have to see. Earnings, like I said, you can't give a prediction for earnings. You can give a prediction based on momentum. We could say if this happens or we get some dramatic selling going on, well, we can form some stuff here. We can form triple divergence, and maybe that's what actually tips us off and Tesla produces those good numbers. But we don't even see those signals yet, and that can be totally out the window. You're below the 200. You're crossing down on the MACD here. What if that just escalates with the earnings? So it's a 50-50 flip. What I would like to do is more see like, oh, this go like this before earnings, and then I see an upward move crossing back above some support that could become resistance, boom, take a play. That's more how I would see it. More of a reactionary style, not trying to predict. That's called a serial hybrid. The Honda Insight is like the same as the Train. What is the Toyota RAV4? What kind of hybrid is that? I think the Toyota RAV4 is a great car. And I think the base model for Toyota, and this is what I'm saying Tesla should do, is make a Tesla that's similar to the Toyota RAV4, which is about 28.6K. But if they could come anywhere near that price point, that would be awesome, because also their delivery stuff I heard is a little wonky too. Sometimes it shows up like in 2 days, sometimes it shows up in like 6 months for Tesla. Yeah, so Tesla, right? The 2024 Tesla Model 3 starts around 40.6 to 55K. I'm saying if they could create something around this that just has a hybrid to it, instead of just being 100% electric, I think that they could pull that, maybe get that created, get that down. But that might, maybe I bet their whole system isn't even created to make that at this point. Old people that drive slow AF love the RAV4. I don't mind the RAV4. I actually like the RAV4. Parallel hybrid is only running on battery with an inadequate engine. A serial hybrid is reliant on the engine, not the battery. Interesting. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying, Pete. It's kind of like, I don't think they have the infrastructure to actually build hybrids, right? They're probably just, their factories are set up to build the electric vehicle, so I just don't think it's set up for them. But I think that that would be a good move for them to get into a lower price point market. Chances by coming back to open prices. Should I take a loss on the 515 call? You could still see upward move here, guys. I'm just gonna point that out, but it's hard to say. You're gonna see the big swings. Just remember, it depends on where you bought the call at that point. Did you buy it before yesterday? Did you buy it on Friday? Or did you buy it today? Well, if you bought it today, up towards the daily expected move, it's not the best thing to do. If anything, you should be going a little bit on the short side up towards this area, because the probability is you go back towards the middle. So pretty much it's as you get away from the center line, the probabilities start to add up down here. As you get, outside of that, you have a solid probability to come back down in. But if you start to pull down like this, okay, now the probabilities are for a bounce. But you want to see structure, guys. You don't just want to be like, oh, it came up to here, so puts. Oh, it came down to here, so calls. I'm sure you can catch little bounces, but sometimes you just move sideways up here, and then you see that breakout. So you want more structure. The vehicle design. Oh, I get you. Well, that's true, because the vehicle design, the battery itself is the whole, flat layer in the car, right? That's the battery that's in there, I think. I think that's how it's built. This is just like a whole layer, right? So I don't think that they have the ability to do it. I'm just stating that's how they could, but it would cost a load of money to get into that. War already priced in. War is not priced in at all. FSD for $49.99 when you purchase a new vehicle, uptake would be 75%. They would generate billions of miles of data. Cool. Well, that's the reason they actually went up to, was the fact that they're supposedly, I would buy a Tesla for 22K. I think you would buy a Tesla for 25K. I think people would buy a Tesla for 30K. I think the lower people would buy, like the lower income people would buy, or middle class, things like that, would definitely buy a Tesla at like 28, 30K. What's your take on AMD 30-minute? AMD is wonky as hell. It really is. A 2-hour right showing us a bunch of divergences. 15-minute wants to go positive, it looks like maybe, but 30-minute here, you're seeing the divergence. We're not near a weekly expected move. So that's one thing I'd say, you know, if I'm looking for 3 to 5 things, well, this trade probably only has 3. So I wouldn't put a big position. Doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means it doesn't mean you can't do it. It's just you might only find 3 reasons to take a trade here, so I might want a smaller position. It looks very negative for a long time, so you could get that move up, but just be a little cautious with it. Maybe don't take as big of a position, have a stop and play, which you might actually take out that stop right now. So I would look and be patient today. VIX almost green. Uh-oh. Google calls. I mean, it would make sense if Google would actually curl up on this MACD to take a slight call. It would. Right now you're flagging. If the 30-minute can cross, well, you have a good shot testing this high, making a new one. You could play a cross would get you to right about here at this point. Play that to ones, maybe this high up here at 161.50. Maybe play that towards the weekly expected move. But as of right now, dollar creeping higher, yields going way higher, yields up. I mean, shit, the 10 years just up like this. I love that once we see that. Do you see how once the yields drop off, we see selling in the market? Pretty funny, right? So TLT starting to gain something here. We'll see 30-minute divergence for TLT. Maybe this is a good play. We'll have to see. Let's see how expensive this stuff is. Maybe I want to take a little play on... Oh, God. TLT screwed me last week, though, guys. But remember, we don't get data for a little bit. So... interesting to see. We don't get data for a little bit. Went from 89.50 to 91. 90. 2-hour. Divergence setting up there. This actually is a good point for TLT. Good point for TLT, I would say. But, you know, you're out of structure at this point, so that thing's just falling off a cliff at this point, so be very careful with it. But it doesn't look like the worst thing in the world to go for, to try, but be a little careful with it is all I would say. We might try a little play on that, though. We'll see what happens with it. I'll see if it crosses first before I actually hit the buy button. Loss on TLT, but hopefully we were able to make it back with some Aapl trades, right? That Aapl trade was so good. If you draw a channel. Let's see if that channel has a touch point here. Yeah, if you ignore the shadow there, I like to include it. Or if you ignore the wick, I like to include it. But the fact that you're not coming all the way down is perfectly fine, actually. Usually that's kind of a good thing. Now, daily side, though, look at that thing just pointing down. So really, if this pops, look, it has to really get to positive territory again. So I'd just be a little careful with that going forward. But volatility still above 20. You see the volatility still high. That means big swings up, big swings down. Volatility being high doesn't mean like everything just goes down. It could get a big swing up first. Home builders and the housing index dropping off, starting to flag. Let's see if that confirms. Now it's starting to look a little bit bearish out there to me. So I wonder if Google really will be able to curl up here. Stocks are going to do what stocks are going to do. That's why we follow the signals and don't really, you know, we had the war. Iran threatened Israel is what I overall was reading. So in order for us to get some kind of big drop, you probably will need some kind of big response. That's the crazy part, though. Like, if Iran just threatened and then Israel just full-on bombs, that would be not the best. I'm not down for people dying. Nvda. This one 30-minute was going to curl up positive territory. So what I was saying to pay attention to here is 15-minute divergence or something like that, right? So if this confirms, downside looks very, very juicy, and then I'd pay attention to my downside weekly expected move. Yeah, and I think it's kind of like smart warfare from Gaza, just to like convince the whole world, oh, they're just bombing our citizens for no reason. And but they want a ceasefire, Gaza does, because it just gives them more power, in my opinion. But we're not talking about war stuff. I don't know enough about it, guys. I really don't. I don't know anything about it. So I should really not even talk about it, because I don't have to do any of that stuff. I'm not in the military in any way. I don't know about war enough to talk about it. I just pay attention to the reactions from war, and right now, not too scared of it, but maybe there's something coming out that we're not paying attention to. So if anyone sees some news, stocks climb through, Iran-Israel tensions remain high. So see, it can affect the market, but that's all I'm worried about. I'm not going to be able to say anything here today that changes the outcome. I don't like people dying. That's all I would say. I am not Jewish. I am Irish. Which I don't know how to do that accent very well, so it sometimes comes out Scottish. Top of the morning to you. Is that Irish? I don't know, Adam. But nope, not Jewish. Let's drink beer. Okay, sick. Dude, Smirnoff. Let's drink Smirnoff. Yo, anyone got some Smirnoff ices? Ice me right now. That's what we should do. That's what we should do. Ice me for $50. No. This is like my old stream again. I don't like that. I don't like that. My old stream, people like paid me to drink, and it was rough. I used to be really good at drinking. Now I drink like 2 beers, and I'm like, ooh, I feel pretty good. How much did you make on that Aapl call? 170%. I'll go look. I think it was 165%. 165% in a matter of hours. Yes, I was in the Navy for 20 years. Well, thank you. Went through 9/11. Oh my goodness, that's 9/11 was terrible. I've been looking, like, you know, I have conspiracy friends that show me stuff from 9/11, and I'm like, I hate that sometimes it makes sense. What was the expiration for that call? 3 weeks out. So see, you don't have to take that week. Now, someone did take that play that week, by the way. Someone in here did take that. And their option was, they made, so the person who took the Friday call for that Aapl play made 100 times 10. They times 10'd it. They times 13, 14. They times 15 their money. Right? Didn't you? Matthew, was it you? Wasn't it something like it was worth like $7 or something? So like that's at least, that's like times 13 or something like that. But me, I'm not as, I don't like to have that much risk, right? So I buy my my 3 week out play, and I sold early too, and that's just a show. I still buy 3 weeks out to give me a cushion. For 1 decade left in 1990, brother was in the Cantor when they blew the basement. Well, I'm sorry about that. That's fucking yeah. Today war breaks out. We get dark in the chat throughout. I mean, stocks are getting dark too. Look at that red coming in. So now we can see volatility. Is it making that next move higher? Ooh, looks like it is. Is the 30-minute able to cross? Ooh, looks like it is. So I would pay attention to a 30-minute divergence over the next couple of days. Or volatility is just going to keep going. So pretty much it's like 30-minute, take the divergence. As long as we see divergence at the same time, maybe we're hitting some weekly ranges to the downside or daily ranges or something like that, we can pay attention to it. But yeah, thank you guys for your service. Really appreciate it. I know that one thing I was reading was something about they're like making people who are deployed overseas for stuff, if they left equipment, they're making them pay for it, even though they were told to leave the equipment. I thought that was sketch, but I don't even know if that's true. Uh-oh, Bitcoin dumping. Bitcoin short's not climbing. Interesting. Bitcoin dumping. All right, 2 hour, curl over, negative territory. Boom. This is pretty much equivalent to a 30-minute on regular stocks. Sold for $7.85. So bought at 0.58, sold for $7.85. Matthew, you're a dope ass deal. Look at that play. Good job. Got the motherfucker back, brother. Rest in peace to your family. Bro. People are crazy, the skills they have, man. I feel like I wouldn't last. I'd last 30 minutes. That's what I'd have. I'd last 30 minutes. Mara, oof. Yikes. SMCI catching a bid here. Remember, this is the point we thought was important. 903.11. Isn't it inflation will cause people to shift towards gold and crypto to hedge inflation? It depends. Technically, at the end of the day, crypto is, I would say, a tech company, right? It's new tech. The thing about gold is Bitcoin holds value in the people if you would use it as currency. Right now, it's not necessarily being used as currency as much as it probably should be. Gold has a value. It's a conductor, it's a metal and all that good stuff. But when you look at Bitcoin, you're like, what if all the computers shut off? Can you use Bitcoin? Well, what can you use if all the computers shut off? You can use gold, you can use silver, you can use that kind of stuff. But initially, people could fly. That's what I think actually happened. I think maybe people were flying to Bitcoin for that inflation play because they're saying Bitcoin's more valuable than our dollar is pretty much what's being said there. But the problem with Bitcoin is it's not necessarily being used to buy, like, not enough people are using it to buy like groceries. What are they using to buy groceries? The dollar. So you would say in the actual market, the dollar has more use. With Bitcoin in Argentina, it's still really tough to turn it into buying power at the street level. That's my argument. The reason that Dogecoin actually had some value was because it was being used on certain platforms as a form of payment, and it had very small transaction times. Those two things are very, very cool. See, Ethereum, I don't know too much about, but I know my brother was really into Ripple. I think it was Ripple he was really into. And he had a whole thing that he told me about, but that was years ago. I've forgotten a lot of that. But pretty much you just need to know regular people have to be able to use it to pay for stuff before it's actually going to hold value. If our phones all turn off, we can't trade Bitcoin. I mean, unless we literally unless we make paper money around it, right? We exchange our wallets and things like that. And then you just have your wallet key, but you'd be banking on electricity coming back. So it's pretty much think of it this way. If we were hit by an EMP, what could we use to exchange? What could we use to trade? What could we use to buy things? Well, we might have not even be able to use the dot. You might be trading with goods and services like we used to. You might be trading with gold because gold has value. That's how I would think. Oh, credit cards are garbage, but if you would have talked to me about credit cards 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I would say, yeah, you should put everything on a credit card and pay it off every single month. Because the thing about credit cards that's really, really useful is your money is kind of guaranteed. So if someone comes in and steals $10,000 from your bank account or something, or they, whatever, the bank can fight you on that and only give you certain amounts back, maybe not the full amount. But a credit card, they 100% guarantee, most of them, I think, 100% guarantee the money. So if someone would steal 10 grand from your credit card, they will take the fall for that. So that's something pretty cool. That's true for the stock market too. Well, the stock market, I mean, that would come down to individual investment most likely. changed your mind. I still use credit card to buy and pay it off just because it has insurance. Well, no, I still use credit card. I still use credit card for the most part. It's just, especially as my dollar gets more valuable, I'm not necessarily buying things with the dollar, right? Because I want to keep the dollars. So as the dollar's more valuable, it's actually pretty cool to use a credit card right now, because then your dollar gets more powerful and then you pay the credit card off. Nvda is sadly going down. Should we put a little frowny face on this guy? Little frowny face. So that's the rejection that I was talking about at these highs. That's rejection. See if that posts. You got 5 minutes left in the bar. But no, that's still a very good way to go about things. It's just credit cards today have pretty damn high interest rates, right? I think my brother got a card and he's never had a credit card, so it is like his first one. I just told him pay it off every single month so you don't get hit by interest. He's like, oh, okay. I'm like, what's your interest? He's like 29 or 29% or something. I'm like, whew. Or it's like 32%. I don't know. It's crazy. Here, let's look that up. What's the highest interest for? $36%. So you can get a 36% interest credit card. That's fudged up, man. So that's where it's like, ugh. But if you pay it off every month, it's still good. I was looking at this on IWM, seeing if I could find a 30-minute divergence in here. Just something I was paying attention to for today. AMD breaking down. It's AMD. You might have even got stopped out on this by now. But now you can say, oh, if that crosses up, I can get back in, put my stop in again. You lost like nothing there. Come on, give us some hints. This is too deep of a handle, in my opinion. XCN. Oh god, I'm scared. I'm always scared to click on this shit. Oof. I mean, I don't even know if I'm looking at the right thing. I mean, 200, find some room here. Could see some upside, for sure. But this little shit like this, I'll have to actually research the coin itself. Pretty much, I'm saying that. I think that most of the like other coins just go away. So one thing about the SPY we can look at on the daily scale while we pull this up is retest of the 5-day moving average. So when you break down, you know, when you do get this crossing here of the 5 against the 20, you test bottom Bollinger. We happen to do that at the same time right here. So reaction up makes sense. Test the 5. If we start to see that drop off, we can ride this 5-day down. So that would be very interesting to ride this 5-day down. Let's see what the Qs did. Qs tried to get above their moving averages, but didn't necessarily get that to go. So now we're crossing down again, kind of wonky behavior in here, right? Cross back up, cross down. So we're kind of testing that level. Let's see if we can break through the 50. That would be huge if we broke through the 50. Onyx Financial. You said shit? Oh, dang it. I cussed. Dang it. You guys aren't supposed to let me cuss on this channel. Nvidia, what are you testing? Holding above the moving averages, you know, even though this is a downward move, holding above the moving averages. So, I mean, unless this 30-minute can go negative, I'm not really fully convinced this is going down, but you take out this low, you're probably testing these ones down here. So a big move could come to the downside. I'm going to do this. I'm going to just look it up over here because it's something that I haven't looked at, but I can put it over here and read about it for a little while. We'll put a pin in that for now. We'll put a pin in it. Apple's close to going down. It's close. It's there. I just see 15-minute rolls up, goes positive. Now you're flagging here, so it looks like we could head down, but Tesla's still just freaking A, man. Now you're kind of consolidating down at these lows, Not a good sign because you could get some kind of ABC move, but if you consolidate sideways for a while, you could head lower. Maybe we hit that weekly expected move down here. We'll have to pay attention to that going forward. The SPY, really, all you have to watch here is 15 minutes. See if these go negative. Take out this low. We're probably going to hit that bottom side of the daily expected move if that happens. If we take out this low and aren't able to buy back up by end of day, I think that 433 is likely. Maybe we even target the bottom here, like we were saying in our video over the weekend. What if the weekly comes down and touches that 20 on the weekly? That would be a good pullback. That would be a good pullback to then see if we can base out from that area. Now, by the time we get there, does it go into next week and then we get, I think GDP and a bunch of earnings. So are earnings good? The scary part is, guys, earnings could produce good numbers, but do they talk about inflation and the pressures of it? The fact that inflation is here means they can make margins and things like that too. Is the economy better for stocks? Ask again, James, what economic is good economics? Is like good data? Is that what you're talking about? So the data we got today is bad for rates. You have a strong economy again. So the rates go higher. If you have strong retail sales, it goes higher. Is war good for stocks? It can be. It can be. But overall, I would say I don't think you want a war. You're kind of in a recipe for like inflation to go up because oil might be worth more, gold might get worth more in a war setting. It's just not very good. My portfolio looks empty, man. I got TLT and I've got an option play and I've got the dollar. I've got cash. I ain't playing around till I see a direction. We're moving sideways still, so I don't see a direction. I ain't playing around. A strong economy will cause a rate cut to happen, most likely. A strong economy causes rates to go higher, and when that economy is so strong that and the rates are so high that something breaks, that's when you normally see the rates start to go down dramatically. 2024, no crash, maybe 2025, and that's very possible. I think if we do something like this, we could see an extension over time. Maybe this goes all the way until October like I originally thought. It's just how stocks look right now. Well, how they look right now, we could make that happen. But if you would have asked me that maybe a month ago, I'd say, no way. But now that we've kind of moved sideways for a while, we haven't seen a dramatic sell-off. You do have that potential to hold up. It's just funny that, throughout all this, throughout all this was, big pop, bad PPI reading crash, big pop, bad retail sales crash, and bad retail sales here was higher retail sales. So, and this was because we were fighting inflation. Inflation was high, and then it started to come down, so we see this bounce. Now we're seeing those same things, but we're not getting the same reaction. Strong retail sales, strong inflation, but stock market go up. So technically, if we were behaving the same as last time when we were dealing with inflation, we would be heading down pretty dramatically. But because we're not, that means that people think that we have soft landing or something like that, most likely. That's not a thing. It's just not. Sorry, guys. Right when they convince you, right? Even if you're the most bearish guy in the world, right when they convince the most bearish guy in the world that this is the soft landing, it's probably going to crash. All you need to know here is banks are suffering. Banks are really suffering. And someone knows that they're suffering. Someone knows this is bad, right? Because dollar go up, stock market go up. That's weird. And we're actually about to see this thing turn back down. So pretty much where we started out the day. Look at that. God, I thought about doing this. Like, I never day trade, but I thought about it today. I thought about taking just a short right here, seeing if we'd go and fill the gap. But that's okay. I'll keep my strategy. Crypto, once stabilizes, it can be used as as digital as CC and debt used as. Everybody should be frightened of executive. I haven't heard of that too much, but I understand what you're saying, and my argument is just, you know, crypto one stealing. Oh, okay, yeah, okay. So, but once a system's in place where it's easier to back and forth, is what I'm saying. Like, once I can go to the store and scan my wallet and pay Bitcoin for groceries, I'll be convinced it has some value. Bonds will crash the market, and that's what's happening. Bonds are doing a good thing. They're fighting inflation for you right now. Day trading seems so stressful. Yeah, what if this just went sideways? That's why I was like, I didn't do it. That's kind of the thing. It's like you don't do it in case the risk, but when the move happens, you're like, damn it. You have to think it could just go the other way on you. It's a day thing. What makes it so volatile is probably the amount of retail that's in it. The amount of retail, hedge, everything like that that's in it just makes it swing back and forth pretty good. So because you moved up so fast, you're going to see big swings and things like that. But overall, it's just playing it simply. Does this go negative? Probably going to see this cut out, take out this low, right? 15-minute crosses over, negative territories right there. Boom. Now, this might create a divergence, right? We might do something like this, get some kind of what? But what if it doesn't? So you're going into negative territory. Taking that bet would be a little scary. You want to wait for confirmation. So I think if this breaks through this low, we might actually head all the way back down to 841.46. Aapl! Uh-oh! 15-minute curling up. Positive territory. Right when we start to see weakness, they use the big dog Aapl to keep us higher. Yeah, so this is pretty simple. Cross up, positive territory, maybe play the upside range. That's kind of how I would look at this one. But you guys know me. I like to look for the great trade setups with 5 reasons to take the trade. So I'm waiting on that one. I'm going to go use the restroom real quick, and I'll be right back. I will leave you guys on the Qs. Let's look at that Qs and give you the whole range there so you can pay attention. Be right back. And we're back. We're back. We're back. Welcome to the channel. I know. I know. Why are you... Why... How did these spammers get my email? Tesla calls soon. We gotta wait for some structure, but I could see... Nope, we don't do 3 hours. 2 hour, I would wait for another test of this level. I think that's possible, but you'd have to say a big move is coming. We break out of here, big move. We break down to here, big move. Maybe even something like 154 can hold you up, right? So boom, boom, boom might happen. Or maybe this creates that divergence and we start to see it go up, but Tesla calls coming soon. I'd say, yeah, you test this area down here, maybe the weekly expected move, then we could talk about it. As of right now, you're not seeing much as far as my strategy goes to like say, hey, yeah, this is going back up. This is weak at this point. This is weak. Negative territory. Not looking good. The zone for QQQ, 443, 27 to the upside. 433, 27 to the downside. So 10-point move. Big move for the day. That's a big move for the day. It's crazy, though, but you could end the day down here. Apple's moving on no fundamentals at all. Weird. Crazy. 15-minute. Curl up. Positive territory. Oh my gosh. It's almost like... No, I'm sorry. That sounded like I was making fun of you. I wasn't making fun of you. I was saying weird, crazy, holy crap. Almost like it's manipulated. Now, people could still be buying based on the news last week. You know, very, very good news. I'm going to look for a 15-minute divergence here, to be honest. Right at the top of this zone. I feel like that'd be pretty telling. I don't even know the range for Apple right now. What is it? A little bit above that zone. 15-minute divergence up here might be telling. Triple divergence, scale in again. Call it a day. Google, this one, still piling up here. Not able to turn over negative on that momentum yet, so you still have the chance for the 30-minute to roll up as this looks kind of cup and handle like, just a little bit. Now you're rejecting the cross as of right now. 30-minute goes negative, you take out the low, then you have a good chance to break out of this structure right here. But we do have the opportunity to do something like this and then see that buy right back up. So what if this is all like that? We go like this, we go like that, boom, boom, boom. That's how I'd see it going up. Going down, most likely you're going to see a dramatic move to break this, then get that reaction for a retest, and then see, but. So there's always a way up and there's always a way down, and it's about reacting which way it's going. As of right now, 30-minute not curling up, positive territory. So you'd have to say, not the best just yet, but if I get that to cross somewhere up in this area, right, cross, okay, now I can play that maybe up a little bit, but Microsoft, ooh, no, Microsoft, don't do it. Okay, do it. Okay, do it. Do it. No, Microsoft, right, this is just kind of a wedge within a wedge. It's Inception, remember? This is Inception. But it shows you how this can draw out for quite some time, right? This could go all the way up into October. So this one here is kind of a cool one to watch because it has the triple divergence, so you can see a dramatic pullback. We could start a negative trend, start to break down. But it also has that bigger wedge going on up here. 3 points on the top, 2 on the bottom. So pretty good. So if that wanted to do something like this, start to build back up, that would be very, very cool. But for now, these signals here are telling you, not very good. I think our 30-minute charts are pretty good for today. But that's exactly where it needs to hold up. Microsoft, you really want that to hold up right there. AMD, probably really want this to hold up. Ooh, looking pretty decent there. 10-year. TLT. There's an argument here. Triple divergence now on a 30-minute. There's an argument here for some kind of bounce. But I literally have that still up over here, ready to buy. I'm just gonna wait and see what the price looks like. I'm not trying to set anything just yet. I'm gonna wait, see if that upward move comes, what that price looks like. But this is kind of freaky though. You have to be aware of any turning point for TLT because it could be flight to safety. It could be we need to bring those rates down dramatically. So it could be I know it's not easy to call a black swan, but you'd probably see some kind of shift happening. And I feel like this is one of those moments where it could happen. But will this just lead to a pullback in those yields until we get, or in a bounce in TLT until we get more news next week? Because I don't think we have much news this week, right? Am I crazy? Tomorrow we get building permits, we get some bond auctions, we have a lot of oil stuff this week. Fed Mester speaking, a bunch of Fed speakers, initial jobless claims on Thursday, but nothing really, just like Fed speakers and auctions and oil stuff. And then next week we'll get durable goods on Wednesday, and I think GDP growth rate on Thursday is important. So we'll have to see what we're at for GDP. And just remember, we have earnings and stuff too. So earnings can really shake things up. In volume, yeah, it's volume not looking good. TLT as a hedge for what? Just so I'm clear. TLT is probably right now a just in case we go to like some kind of black swan, aka war or banking crisis, because most likely the flight to TLT will happen because these yields are going to have to come down. Yields will come down if we're in a crisis. They have to cut dramatically usually if we do that because you're going into a deflationary period. So if some kind of crisis happens, deflation is going to happen, and therefore you don't want to continue fighting inflation. If you hold rates higher and don't allow any kind of, borrowing power from the United States, pretty much, or borrowing power in general is still very hard to get. You're pretty much saying the economy is going to come to a complete halt. At least that's my opinion on it. I have end of the month 93 on TLT. Not the worst play. End of the month. I mean, you can look at monthly ranges and stuff and see if that's totally possible according to that. It looks like it's possible. We're outside the monthly as of right now. And getting down towards the weekly even with this bar right here. So that's why I'm going to I'm going to look for if this confirms. Maybe I even go like this. I look at a 5-minute, look for a little 5-minute divergence, get in on that play. 15-minute divergence, anything like that. RSI turning back up. So maybe take a chance on this, keep a stop below it. That's what I might do here in a moment. Volatility able to turn up, but not going ballistic like yesterday. Just yet. We'll have to see. HGX, that's this guy falling off. 30-minute crosses down. So this is your housing sector here. Not looking good. HYG. Same thing, but potential for some kind of bounce here. So that's interesting. Down. IWM showing a 30-minute divergence here, and it's holding up at that level. It might be one to look at, but Tesla flagging. Apple's starting to fade, so what a fake out, right? What a fake out. Got to get that 15-minute to cross to get that confirmation of some momentum going up, but what do you guys think is going to happen the rest of the week? Do you think we end the week higher than last week or lower? Very simple. Let's keep it very simple. Are we going to close on Friday higher than we closed on Friday last week or lower? Higher or lower? Matthew says higher. And by the way, in an environment like this where you'll see bigger price swings, by the way, really wait for your confirmations. If you can wait for the confirmations, the move will be big enough that you're not going to miss out on much. Notice this wasn't able to confirm. If you take a chance here and that just rolls over, you're in a sell zone. Now this looks very flaggy. I just want to point that out. This looks very, very flaggy. So if this broke to the upside, you would expect another strong move. And then if you're part of Patreon, you just say, okay, weekly expected move, big move up, sell at that or towards that move. Higher, higher, higher depends on earnings. ASML, TSMC, and Netflix. I think Netflix is going to be a big one too. I want to see what their outlook is, though. I want to see what their projection is for future. Sometimes companies do this whole thing where they just go, we can't project because we don't know what's going to happen in the next year. That is usually seen as some bad news. I think Apple did that once and dropped off dramatically. They gave no forward guidance and Apple just tanked. Ooh, SPY about to turn negative here. Really pay attention if this starts to go the other way right here. Now we want to see, will it hold up anywhere? Yeah, you got a ways to go, but notice the weekly. This is what's sketchy about the SPY is the weekly is outside of the monthly, and oof, you could see this thing go bam, all the way down like that. Nvda puts incoming. Nvda not able to take back this. You see this on the weekly. You're a weekly trader. Let's look if Nvidia is about to make that downward move. It's supposed to try to curl up here. What are you doing, Nvidia? You're supposed to try to curl up, but instead, the 15 minutes going to curl down into negative territory. So we talked about this very early on this morning, seeing if we test this level. Watch out if that 15-minute curls back down, and then to the upside, paying attention to 30-minute curling up. You see that reject. We talked about all this. So now the likelihood of taking out, or at least testing this low is pretty high. USDC moving like that. Oh, is a good buy under 150 AMD. Yeah, and you're saying AMD, and I think that's not a bad point to look out for. I think you have a good shot at a bounce from here still, by the way. But I think anywhere down towards 150, this little zone in here, you see this zone from 150 down all the way down to 135. Anywhere in there, we could see some buying back up, but you'd really like to see that right now. Really? Well, that makes sense. I mean, go try. I dare you to go to your bank and try to pull $10,000 out right now. I think they have a limit of $2,500 cash they can give you. Psycho. Or you have to tell them exactly what you're using it for. Imagine that. Where we live in a world right now where if you want to go take more than $5,000 out, you have to tell them exactly what you're using it for. You can't just do whatever with your money that you want. That's crazy to me, dude. QQQ's negative? Uh-oh, that's not good. Now we're testing the 50 on the daily scale right here. This would be a pretty big moment. Remember, I'm still leaning towards a test of that weekly 20. I think that's very, very likely. 15-minute roll down, negative territory. We could take out this low. Now we could see buying up from here. You still have that gap support. Yes, sir, exactly. See, I pay attention a little bit. I'm really good with charts, and I pay attention a little bit. Maybe acting like this percentage of the top 10 weighted on the slide is going to be up 50%. And yeah, sometimes when it's not sustainable, you still get a blow off top, and then you realize, oh, this really isn't sustainable. Something breaks and it's done. You think higher or lower this week? I think we go lower and then end up with an indecision on the weekly scale, is what I would say. So here's what I think. I think we just went up, and then I think we could see some kind of tear down, and then we end the week pretty much where we started. I think we end the week at 438. That's my opinion. But like I said, you have TLT dropping down to extreme levels. You have the 10-year just growing and growing at this point. You know, it's not even on the weekly scale. This thing ain't even overbought. So pay attention to that. You're spreading out the Bollinger Bands. This is a risky play to take as of right now with the TLT. So I'm going to keep my stop there. But this is something that can cause black swan moments. Dollar creeping up. So I'm not saying that has to happen by any means. The VIX being positive. All of these lead towards some kind of crash. That potential, right? We'll say crash potential. But you guys know I'm leaning towards this being a more difficult market. Yes, they can, Shane. I dare you right now, if you have a Bank of America, or wait, what bank? Yeah, Bank of America. Go to Bank of America, and if you have $10,000, just say, hey, I'd like to take $10,000 out cash. I bet you money they give you flack for it. Cryptographer? You think I would have made a good cryptographer? After Israel hits Iran, lower. And that very well could happen. Yeah, you can't access your own money. That's the biggest problem. And the thing with that is because most of the money is debt. Most of the money doesn't even exist in cash form, which is something I believe JS and everyone was talking about. It's like it doesn't even exist in cash form. My credit union never questions me or doesn't have the money I request. +1 for credit unions. I use a credit union, DB Trades. I don't use a bank. I have a credit union. I'm the same way, dude. They also post their balance sheet in my credit union, so I get to see everything. Like, I got to see if they were profitable, what they were struggling in. Some of their interest stuff is going wonky. They're getting some defaults, but they're still very profitable. I don't know. There's multiple reasons. You could say your money's more secure. They seem to be a little bit more careful with lending, I would say. Things like that, which leads towards better business, in my opinion. I bet JS could tell you exactly why a credit union's better than a bank. But that's at least why I did it. I even opened a business account there as well, and their business account services were great. So What was I going to look up? I did want to look up this Smirnoff. I'm looking this up. Please have ED third executive order signed by U.S. Biden, the ultimate aim of the develop digital assets in a responsible manner. And this is what's scarier about things going fully digital, is they can like probably just type a number in and, you know, get as much debt as the country as they want. And, you know, we're on tax day right now, and I think it's really funny that as a country, we actually still pay taxes. I'm not even going to lie. I think it's really funny how bad the government is with money, and we still give them money. If I could do one thing that I think would really fix us and get the government back to, you know, behaving normally, everyone in the country just like, or not everyone, but a big number of people don't pay taxes for a minute, and they actually have to like stop doing this random spending all the time. But that would cause so many freaking problems, dude. And a lot of fear in this market, but everyone's saying higher for the most part. My brother's-in-law filed a boatload of paperwork and no longer pays taxes. There's a thing that allows you to do that. Oddly enough, video games prove the dangers of going fully digital because the game studios are deleting games that people have fully paid for and invested into. Digital removes ownership. Yeah, that's the thing too. At any time, right? They own the rights, they own the code, they own the platform. That's why it's like, you know, if you're a politician on Facebook and they just decide they don't like you, they can rip you off. There's nothing really to it there. Got into TLT. Let's look at that for a second. Let's look at how this is shaping up for TLT. Like the stream, guys. Thank you, JS. And thank you guys for your input. Smirnoff, JS, Steve. Who else is in here? Uniworld, what up? DB Trades, happy Friday. And here as always, thank you, Gordon. Not stock related, but did you research poll change rabbit hole? No. Yeah, thank you. Never again buying any Ubisoft game. Yeah. Now I'm worried about. I am a gamer, guys. Just so you guys know, I am a gamer. I don't get to play games often, but I even might be an esports coach at a college here in town soon. I always just like doing cool things. So I'm a very tactical person. So I'm very good at coaching and things like that. So I actually might do. I might be a esports coach at a college soon, like an assistant coach, just for fun. But it's scary because, like, Steam. What if Steam just said, like, no, what if they did? What if they just said, if you, and I'm thinking of this in a different way, but you voted this way, so you don't. We're taking away your account. Start an esports channel. You guys want to see me stream video games on the weekends? I'm a recovering Halo addict. Halo's what got me into gaming. Halo, I was a kid and I got that game, me and my two brothers, and I was so scared of it because I was still kind of little. And Halo 1 came out and I was scared of the aliens. I'd never seen graphics like that before. People have high trust in Steam. I don't think Steam would do that. I was just using it as an example. Steam's been around for, shoot, I don't know how long. I used to play Counter-Strike on that money market gaming. Money making gaming. I don't know. Try Bloodborne. I haven't tried Bloodborne yet. You guys would love my brother. He's a very he plays Bloodborne. He plays like, oh, what's the one where it's kind of like is it something soul? Dark Soul, Lost Soul, Dark Souls, something like that. Ever played RuneScape? My buddy plays RuneScape every single day. This trade looks pretty good. I mean, you want to see if that curls up, goes positive, but just keep a stop here. Very good opportunity there. Let's keep this on the SPY. We got to see if this is actually going to curl over on the 15-minute here. So this could all be a handle. This still is head and shoulders potential, by the way. Just so we're clear. You haven't taken out this low yet, so it is still in play. Google looks like it wants to make that upward move. Dark Souls, that's what it is. New baby, you will definitely be scripted to coach. Games are moving to crash well. Right way to make more via diverse assets. I am a Dark Souls season 1 player. Dark Souls, yes. Elden Ring, yeah, that's what he played. He's more of that style. I grew up in the era of Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9. I grew up playing those, so I have those for Xbox, actually. I bought all of them, and I play them once a year. I haven't played them yet because daughter. Could you review Aapl's upside potential? We can review Aapl's upside potential here. Remember, 15 Minute was not able to confirm this. This is a sell zone. This is where the short side does step in. But if you want to see a positive move, 15 Minute curls up. I think that move comes. I think maybe we go to the top of this zone. So if you just see that cross right in here, put a stop in, right? Be diligent, but you could maybe play that towards 180, towards 181. Trade like water is be flexible. Wait, okay, Lucas, please explain to me what do you mean by trade like water? So when I came up with trade like water, I genuinely was, early on in this channel, and I was like, what am I trying to explain here? And I was just trying to think of a good analogy, and I randomly, while filming the video, was just like, okay, you need to trade like water. What does water do? Well, if I put water in this mug, what's it going to do? Well, it's going to conform to the shape of the mug. If I put water in this right here, what's it going to do? It's going to conform to the shape of this water jug here. If I put water in this this steering fluid that I didn't need because I found out my steering wheel is electric, what would it do? It would shape to this. So you're pretty much going to adapt and always be with the shape of the market. And then at the same time, you could say, well, if I was water in a stream, right? People say go with the flow, go with the trend. Okay, well, if the trend could be compared to water going down a river and you see a big rock and there's a split point, right? The rock is here. If you go left, it takes you into a sewage system. If you go right, it takes you into a beautiful meadow. Which one do you want to go down? The beautiful meadow. You want to go down the meadow, right? Because that's where the good things are. And that's what I'm saying. So the rocks that are in the way are the data, are the Iran-Israel stuff and all that. And you just want to pay attention to the signals and then react which way. So right as you're getting towards that rock and maybe you're right in front of it, you see it, right? We see the data. Now we can see the rock. We see the flow go to the right. We see it go to the left. We see pretty much most of the flow going right. That would mean the meadow's that way. Yeah, so it's just being adaptable, being risk managed is what I would say is pretty much the basics of trade like water. Being adaptable is very, very good. Never getting too bullish, never getting too bearish. So even if we see a drop of 10%, you bet your ass I'm going to be looking and being like, okay, but how could this go up? And if it doesn't look like a good scenario to go up, that's fine. At least I'm aware of it in case it happens. Especially my daughter's city leagues, then you get to watch some go on to success in high school. Yeah, I was a big soccer coach. Be water, my friend. I'm not gonna lie. You guys, I'm gonna tell you something and you're gonna hate me for it. I don't think I've ever seen a Bruce Lee movie. Yeah, it got quiet in here. I don't think I ever have. So drop some suggestions. We need movies. Spy curling up. Let's go look. Remember, this could be just a deep handle here. I'm dead serious. I don't think I have. Oh no, we love MMA and stuff here. I have MMA gloves. I punch the bag. I kick. I do like pretty much kickboxing a little bit just on my own for a random workout. Stop the stream. Go watch it all. If I could watch it live with you guys, I would. All right, guys, but it is 10:30, so let's go through some of these real quick. I know we've been chatting about other stuff, but we really should be focusing on the market. We'll try to be more focused on the market throughout the week, all right? But I'll definitely look up some Bruce Lee movies. So what I would pay attention to here, the 15-minute wasn't able to cross. What does that mean? It could go positive here. So the SPY actually telling you, hey, maybe I do make some kind of head and shoulders in this area. So just be careful because remember what I said, if we end the day something like here, now these daily expected moves, they're going to shift up And so you have that potential for positivity. So just be careful with that. If it starts to decide a direction, right? Let's say today's the rock. We're trying to figure out that stream. Well, if it breaks to here, right? If it breaks out like this, we're probably going to head towards the top of that weekly, which means some big things could happen, right? The 2 hour could start to go positive at that point. We could see a big move. So just pay attention. I mean, now you do have recipes for disaster, but the Qs here, similar thing, right? Curls up. It's closer to positive territory, so I would expect a stronger move maybe from the Qs to actually get to that weekly expected move. But I'm open to downside. I'm open to downside because we haven't crossed up on this 30-minute yet. Once we can cross up on this 30-minute, we can say there's going to be some form of positivity here. Maybe this is just a big cup with a big handle. Who knows? Build up more liquidity. It could be good. Aapl going forward. This thing still looks like it could curl up. What I'm going to pay attention to here is 15-minute or 30-minute divergence up in this area. I think that will be very, very telling. Tesla, this thing dropping off, but will we see some buying back up? We're right at that gap fill. Right at the gap fill. So now we can see if this wants to turn up. If it's going to roll over, you're going to see a 15-minute flag, most likely just curl down into negative territory. Just note, you're pretty deep negative right now on the 30 minutes. So in order for this to go positive, you probably have to get to about here, 174. So that could just be like a gap fill, and then you roll back down. So pay attention if this 30-minute rolls up, rolls back down. We'll watch this live tomorrow, though, and that'll probably be happening by then, and we can pay attention if it's actually going to tear down. Amzn, I mean, technically you could say argument for lower high here, right? Getting up towards the center line. Maybe now we see some kind of dramatic drop, lower high at this point, but you need to make that lower low to really solidify that. So looking at a 15-minute, a lot of them will look like this, where it's like, is it going to cross and go negative, or are we just going to see that positivity take over? So just be cautious with this, but if you see this roll down, good shot you're going to take out this low and make a new one for Amzn. Nvda, this is one we were talking about. Hey, watch for weakness up in this area. If the 15-minute can curl down, notice that didn't cross. Notice that didn't cross. Okay, so we didn't confirm by going negative here. What if we just do this and this was all just a big cup and handle? So pay attention to Nvda as it might curl up. On some MACDs here, the 30-minute curling up probably is that confirmation. We may go up towards 930. AMD, this one too, it's still holding at a level where we should see a pretty significant bounce. I mean, this is kind of one of those points that's the last line of the sand. We talked about in the video of some kind of spike down and that just buys back up. Well, we got a spike down. Now we buy back up. Let's see, can this cross 30-minute triple divergence? Looks like a bounce is coming. Remember, we have 2-hour divergences here as well. Looks like a big move could come from AMD according to the momentum, but we know that it looks very weak. This is very flaggy down here on the 2-hour scale. So if we just start to roll over or just unconfirm this and roll down, you can see more negativity. You're still in a negative trend. We've been in a negative trend for a very long time. Just one pop outside of it here. So be cautious with it. But sometimes when you're supposed to be cautious to the downside for a stock, that's when people are very, very bearish on it. You should be the guy saying, hey, this can go up. So if you were to take this, you're crossing on the MACD, perfectly fine. You're not towards a weekly range like I like to do, but we can see this cross, get some green. All right, take it. Maybe put my stop right here at 161.50. That would be the intelligent way to do this, right? Going forward with Meta actually forming some divergence here on the 15-minute. Want to point that out. 15-minute or 30-minute, sorry, 30-minute divergence here. If we can curl that up, some momentum to the upside might be there. Right now, the 2-hour looking pretty telling. This is kind of a beatdown. We've seen this wonky stuff where it gets towards the center line, it crosses back up. You're towards the center line, you have a 30-minute divergence. That means the positivity can come. Gotten too difficult for my casual approach. Exactly. Yeah, that's my problem with games right now is I try to still play League of Legends, Valorant, TFT, all these things, but people have way too much time, and it's like I used to be Ascendant or something like that in Valorant back when I didn't have a kid and could play a little more often. Now I struggle in Gold because I'm like, why is every kindergartner playing this game way better than me? Missed most of the show today. I'm sorry, Jeremiah, but you can watch it back. We're doing the breakdown right now. Microsoft, this is somewhere it really needs to hold up. It's really still deciding. It's moving sideways, whether it wants to break up, break down. You really have to pay attention to Microsoft here. Because if it just starts to break through this level, right, we can break through, retest, and then this thing might be gone. Maybe we get some kind of breakthrough, retest before earnings, and that rips away. So just be very careful around this. The only other thing with Microsoft, if we see positivity, if we get very positive before earnings, I would be very worrisome for some downside. But we know that's a 50-50 flip. We can see stocks go up. We can see it go down. It's a 50-50 flip. So if you are taking this, make sure to have that stop in place or else you can lose a lot. Google, similar story. We see the 2-hour divergence is confirming. That's why I'm in this at this point. It has a daily divergence behind it as well. So 30-minute. If this creates a divergence for me, great. I'm being that Chenko or whatever his name is, the military dude. Good. This goes against my trade. Good. I have another point to get in. Right? I have that divergence forming close to negative territory. What if this just pops? Netflix shows bad earnings, you know? So there is potential up in here, but just know all of these stocks looking pretty weak. As far as momentum to the upside goes, it looks like we need some kind of correction at least before we want to really move higher. And I would say the Q's going to that weekly 20 looks pretty good. Now, volatility, something we do want to look at. Volatility here starting to come back for us, so that's something to pay attention to. TLT starting to drop back off. So it looks like the correlation right now is yields go up, stocks go up. So that is worrisome because once that flips, it's not going to be pretty. Because notice, if I just side by side this maybe. Let's do, what is this, a 30-minute or something? Is this a 30-minute? Yeah, it's a 30-minute. I just want you to see, it's like, all right, TLT goes green. So the yields start to back off. What happens? Oh, the market drops a little. Yields, now TLT is dropping, so yields are starting to go higher on this bar. Stock market buys back up. So it's just a weird correlation at this point. At this point, though, SPY moving with TLT up. So it is just kind of interesting to me. TLT goes up. Well, that means that the rates are going down, and we see what happens. The rates go down, stocks go down, the rates go up, stocks go up, the rates start to go down a tiny bit, the stock market starts to go. It's too wonky. It's so freaking weird. But we can pay attention to the individual signals. Oh, you like twice? Hey, that's all right. As long as people are showing up, having a good time, hopefully getting some good trades. I mean, it's okay. I would really appreciate if we like the video, and I'll even do this for you, Profit Master. Oh, look at Lulu. The Lulu's Lemons. Lulu's Lemons, 2-hour. Looks like you got divergences down here. Triple divergence, so potential for a bounce. Mainly when you see a stock like this, you want to say, hey, is this a good point to invest for a long time? I mean, I'd say so. I mean, I think you got potential here for some buying back up around this 330 level, but you just have to be aware and treat this more as an investment. And if you start to drop down to 259, don't be too scared out of anything. But I would also just say, you know, you're below the 200. So if you're looking at this from the perspective of a trader, there is nothing really here to tell you this thing has to buy anything back. You have room to the downside on the Bollinger Band. You have room to the upside. Could you take a play on this? Depends. I mean, did you make your weekly ranges? Did you take the course so you can make those ranges? That's in the description. That would really help you out. But 2-hour, you see triple divergence. Okay, that means we can maybe turn around the daily, but does this really look like it wants to turn around? Like just really? No, mainly when you want to see divergence at this point, you want to see like down like this. Boom, you get one divergence. Then you see like an up move and then down like this that doesn't meet with this low. So you get that to taper off a little bit, triple divergence, and then that play is up. You take the crossing of the MACD for some kind of play. You get out quickly because you're below the 200. That's how I would do it. Hopefully that was helpful. But yeah, it's not looking like a good one for now. Unless you're thinking, hey, this price is good. I've done my research. I want to invest. If you take a trade on this, I would just be very cautious as that earnings was not pretty. All right, guys, but that's where I'm going to leave us off for today. I've got some stuff to get to, but I really appreciate you guys coming by. Thank you for liking, subscribing. If you guys want to learn any of this stuff, links down in the description for the course. And if you guys want those weekly ranges for the stocks that we cover on this channel, including Microsoft and Google, you can get those down in the description below for Patreon. But I just want to say I appreciate you guys coming by. It was a lot of fun. We got to talk about video games for a while. I love my video games, but I don't get to play as much anymore. That's kind of sad, but baby girl takes up a lot of time. But I just wanted to say I appreciate you guys coming by. Hope you guys have all the luck in the world trading today. I really, really do. Trust me, your success, that's all I'm hoping for, is for everyone here to be successful. And I hope you guys have a great day. I really, really do. And we just have to pay attention to the signals. We're going to get bigger swings, okay? We're going to get bigger swings, which doesn't mean we have the potential to not make money or be wrong on a trade. It just means we need to be flipping back and forth a little bit more often, all right? I think that's the best thing to do. So thank you guys for contributing to the channel. Always appreciate you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and make lots and lots of money. Yeah, video game chat. People want me to start a video game channel, but I don't know if you guys would be happy seeing that gameplay. All right, appreciate you guys. I'll leave you on the spy for just a moment here and let you guys trickle in, trickle out. Peace. Oh, Robert, I didn't see your question, but the trend lines you should be drawing stuff on are the ones you're the most comfortable with. But I would say a lot of the good ones are just an hourly for shorter time frames and a daily, and then weekly you can get some macro side. But I'd say hourly. I like to do mine on 30-minute and 2-hour because I'm comfortable. But if I was new, I would say trend lines on an hourly, trend lines on a daily, and trend lines on a weekly are what I would mostly draw. All right, appreciate it. Have a good one.